AmeriCorps is finally making some real progress. Do you agree with that characteristic? And can you expound on that progress?
Sure, happy to. Yes, I agree that AmeriCorps is making progress. As I mentioned, AmeriCorps has indicated that it has remediated 4 material weaknesses. We have not been able to test those yet. We will be testing them in 2025 once they're implemented. But you're right, they have closed 20. They closed 20 recommendations. They added 3. That's compared to fiscal 2023, where they only closed 7, and we added over 20.
Okay. Ranking, Mr. Smith, AmeriCorps funds over 3,300 projects with over 200,000 volunteers serving communities across the nation. Can you tell us how vital AmeriCorps is to our country and how impactful the work volunteers and members do?
Congresswoman, thank you so much for that question. I tell people I have the best job in the federal government all the time, and it's because I really get to see America at its best. It's people coming together, uniting across differences from all different parts of our country, really showing that when the going gets tough, America gets tougher, and Americans want to unite. Whether that's after a hurricane, a fire, or a flood, helping their neighbors in need, whether that is working on coastal erosion, whether that's helping our kids, addressing the gap in teachers that we have, whether it's our public health workforce, and really addressing that through programs like Public Health AmeriCorps. So today, as I mentioned earlier, we have about 200,000 AmeriCorps members and AmeriCorps senior volunteers that are serving in 40,000 locations. That's in our Boys and Girls Clubs, that's in our Salvation Armies, that's in our American Red Crosses, and if they were here talking to you, they would say that AmeriCorps members are vital for them to be able to do their operational work because AmeriCorps members bring force multiplication and more muscle. And when I think about AmeriCorps, I think about a triple bottom line. I think about the impact that it has on our communities. I think about the impact that it has on the members, 75% of whom, by the way, end up staying in the broader social sectors. They go from being an AmeriCorps tutor or mentor to becoming a teacher. And I think about it from societal benefits, when you have a less isolated society, more social cohesion, more civic engagement after people serve their country.
Okay, can you discuss diversity within AmeriCorps volunteers and how are these volunteers recruited?
Thank you so much. One, I would say I am proud of the fact that AmeriCorps is decentralized. We are not a big bloated Washington program. Most of our AmeriCorps state and national dollars go through our governor-appointed state service commissions. Mr. Chairman, I was recently with the governor and Mrs. Cox in Utah, where they launched the One Utah Service Fellowship, extraordinary program that's helping folks serve while they're finishing their schooling. And so those state commissions help to make a lot of decisions on where the dollars are going. And then we have a network of thousands of grantees to make sure that Michael Smith in Washington isn't deciding what's needed in Florida or what's needed in Utah, to make sure that the people, the force multipliers that are AmeriCorps members, are really being directed to local challenges. I'm also now proud to report that AmeriCorps looks like America. It is more ethnically diverse, or as ethnically diverse than the country. 40% of AmeriCorps members come from low-income households. As I mentioned earlier, 30% come from rural communities. And so we see that because this is really a ground-up and not a top-down program.
Mr. Smith, in Miami-Dade County, we have AmeriCorps volunteers in some of our most challenged neighborhoods and challenged schools. And most of those schools are, I guess we could say, 90% African American. How do we make sure that those schools are serviced by African American volunteers? Because presently they're not.
Congresswoman, thank you for that question. I would say, one, there are no quotas for AmeriCorps service. One of the things that I am proud of, though, is that more and more AmeriCorps members are coming from the communities where they're serving, and that is wonderful, so that they can see an opportunity to serve in their own communities, and they understand the trials and challenges that their students have gone through. The other beautiful thing about AmeriCorps, though, is it brings people together. There might be someone from Utah or North Carolina that is coming to serve alongside folks in Overtown or throughout Miami-Dade, and that is a beautiful way that AmeriCorps brings folks together.
I yield back.
Thank you. I'd like to recognize my colleague from Virginia, Mr. Good.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you to our witnesses. Thank you, Mr. Smith, for being back here again with us. AmeriCorps is an example of yet one other instance where there is no constitutional justification for the federal government be confiscating taxpayer resources and applying it in the most inefficient, unproductive way possible. That's just another example of money we don't have, doing something that we shouldn't be doing with forced confiscation of federal tax dollars. Mr. Ravis, thanks for being here. In your testimony, you mentioned that the National Service Trust Fund had a negative $62 million balance at the end of the fiscal year due to an inability to understand and apply basic accounting practices. In March of this year, just some 8-9 months ago, Congress passed a rescission of appropriations to the trust fund. As you know, that is this trust fund that's managed by AmeriCorps. But 6 months later, the rescission had not yet happened. But an AmeriCorps rep from the trust fund office reviewed the account with the Department of Treasury and still authorized a major purchase of federal securities. That purchase was on September 26, just 75 or so days ago, or 6 months after the rescission. But a few days later, the funds the law required to be rescinded were finally taken back, leaving the account with the $62 million negative balance on September 30. Sir, how can a federal agency spend money that Congress didn't give it?
Thank you for the question. We are still looking into this. We only found out about this at the end of October. What we can tell you is only what the agency has told us at this point, and that is that there was a negative fund balance in the trust at the end of fiscal year 2024. But our initial assessment is that this is a result of the lack of internal controls for financial management.
So what level of confidence would you have that the supposed reforms that have been talked about here today will work as they're intended?
Well, this area, financial reporting, is one of the areas the agency indicated where they have remediated the material weakness. They just have not yet implemented it. So time will tell, hopefully in 2025, for the 2025 audit, whether it...
This might be the audit. This might be the one, if that's what you're saying, perhaps.
Perhaps.
Yeah, hope springs eternal, I guess. Mr. Smith, you didn't mention this in your testimony, but the negative number in the account indicates there was a likely violation of the Anti-Deficiency Act, which, as you know, prohibits an agency from spending more money than Congress appropriates. Why should we conclude anything other than the fact that the trust violated the Anti-Deficiency Act?
Mr. Good, thank you for your question. Our Office of General Counsel just completed a review of this challenge and found that there was no ADA violation. Let me explain. So our National Service Trust is the...
Okay, so you're saying there was an illegal violation, but at a minimum, this is horrible management of taxpayer funds. When will there be any accountability for the representative from AmeriCorps and the National Service Trust who facilitated this negative $62 million balance? Will there be any accountability for what took place?
There is accountability. There was always more than $1 billion in our National Service Trust account. There was one sub-account for 2.5 days that had a negative balance, but we were never in a position of not having enough money in order to pay our National Service Trust obligations.
Well, I appreciate your testimony, but do you think there should be any limit, and Mr. Ravis mentioned the next audit, should there be any limit on how many audits that AmeriCorps can fail before Congress eliminates the funding?
Mr. Good, I can't speak to what happened before I came here, but
you've had how many since you've got there? How many failed audits since you've been there?
So there were 5 years of failed disclaimed audit.
Right, and how many since you got
there? And we've had 3, and we've
three
made
failed.
historic
investments. So one's a concern, two's a real. I mean, three's a. When does it become a real problem under your watch, or when does it indicate that AmeriCorps is beyond salvation, if you will?
Mr. Good, I would say every single day AmeriCorps is delivering for the American people in extraordinary ways. I would also say, sitting with me today is Irv Dennis, who is our senior advisor for financial reform, who was the CFO under Secretary Carson, who turned around HUD, who had significantly more issues. It took HUD 4 to 5 years in order.
So, hey, they failed even worse than AmeriCorps, is what you're saying. Their failure was even worse. Is that what you're saying?
Exponentially more. And Irv turned them around, literally wrote the book on how it done, which is why I hired him to help us.
Well,
and we now have a plan.
It seems basic and fundamental, that we wouldn't keep giving money to an organization that continues to fail audits. You would only do this in the federal government. You wouldn't do this with a charitable organization. You wouldn't keep giving it money. But this is borrowed money from the taxpayers. taxpayers. We don't have the money. Every dollar that's borrowed and spent by the federal government is either an increased tax on the citizens, or it's greater inflation that everybody's been suffering under because of this overspending, or it's increased debt that jeopardizes our future, and it's hurting the American people, and there's no constitutional justification for it. And I yield back, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. I'd like to recognize my colleague from California, Mr. Cano.